আপনারা দেখছেন টকিং পয়েন্ট।
Welcome back. Break jawar age we were talking about different books written by our guest today, Dr. Syed Manzurul Islam of Cheltenham. He lives in Cheltenham and he used to teach at Gloucester University. আপনার সঙ্গে কথা হচ্ছিল, we have talked about your book Map Makers of Spitalfield and Borough, and now in my hand I've got another book of yours which is Song of Our Swampland. How would you translate that into Bengali?
আমাদের জলাভূমির গান বলা যায়, অথবা আমাদের ভাটি অঞ্চলের গান।
ভাটি অঞ্চলের গান এটা। আমি এই বইয়ের একটু মলটটা দেখাই দিই দর্শকদেরকে। এটা বই হচ্ছে, থ্যাংক ইউ। Your book Song of Swampland is based on Bangladeshi Liberation War, which, because of your family reasons also, you have seen from a very close distance. See, your family has suffered. You have seen the misery of war, the deprivation, all the troubles. How did that influence you to write this fiction?
Yeah, it is a large part of it. I mean, in diaspora, we are engaged in kind of day-to-day life and realities here. Hence, I'm prompted to write, Map Makers of Spitalfield and Borough. The way symbolically, as a migrant, we constructed our homeland here. But at the other part of the equations of our reality and consciousness here is our left behind homeland. So obviously I'm sort of pulled by my memories of Bangladesh. One of the important aspect of that memory is our experience during the war time.
Right.
Like most Bangladeshis families, it was a kind of rather traumatic sort of event for us. Although the outcome is joyful because we kind of found our own nation, independent nation, but the kind of process of it extremely.
The nation was already there.
Yeah.
But was not recognized as an independent nation.
The way we achieved our formal sort of independence, but the process was extremely kind of
painful.
Traumatic, painful. As a kind of as a boy, I was drawn into that. So I remember in the middle of the war, I found myself stranded in a village, with my mother and my 4 younger brothers and sisters. My father already kind of left to
work for the country,
work for the independent movement, which is a well-known story. I don't want to go into that. And my elder brother as well, he was also kind of actively engaged with this war. But myself and my mother and my younger brothers and sisters were stranded in Bangladesh. But somehow we walked through the swamp in months, and arrived in sort of the refugee camp in India, in Agartala. So I used that experience to construct my narrative of independence. But at the same time, although it is a story about the national liberation of Bangladesh,
right?
But by kind of diasporic consciousness, if you like, played a major part.
You see the things from a Syed Manzurul Islam of today, or when he was a child?
No, it's both. That's what I was saying. That the way sort of diasporic consciousness played in part. So if you have read the book or browsed through it, you would realize that my main protagonist of the novel, Kamal, is from the margin of society.
Right.
Whereas you can say that, sort of, my family, to an extent, was the center of the sort of this historical drama. So why I sort of chosen to represent the nations, comes into existence, from the point of view of extremes, the margin. I think here, my experience of as a migrant in England, being on the margin and periphery, kind of prompted me to choose a kind of protagonist is from the sort of margin. So I looked at the sort of margin, national emergence from the kind of the marginal kind of point of view, because my location, in England, is on the kind of margin. So that is
it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
Easy to relate.
Yeah, exactly. So in a sense that it is a kind of a diasporic sort of, writers, kind of imagination, and he's kind of, if you like, the double sort of reality here, and the sort of the memories of that imaginaries only. So both two things, played a part in constructing that, narratives of nations, coming into existence. Yeah.
Right. We have talked a number of times about the Bangladeshi diaspora.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
Bangladeshis are spread throughout the world now. For some have left the country for economic reasons, some have for social and political reasons. But does it work out as good for the NRBs and Bangladesh and the host country here? Does it really work out, this diaspora and this our feeling that we have for our country? We would like to send money every year. A lot of us would like to spend a month or two, for whatever reasons, to meet relations or to go to our village and have a leisurely holiday, whatever. Do you think it's working out well?
I mean, obviously, in a sense that,
For both,
yeah, in a sense that, first let me address the sort of the question from our point of view. In a sense that, migration is a kind of difficult, issue. No one wants to leave their homeland, voluntarily.
True.
So in a sense that it is a kind of dire kind of practical necessities, driven us out, sort of seeking, fortunes, because, people often kind of, conflate, the position of migrants, that of the kind of the exiles. And people go in exile for kind of aesthetic sort of in reason, for sort of once you are kind of refugee for political sort of reason, But in a sense that, migrants are driven elsewhere to better themselves, to make a sort of, living,
Right.
So in a sense that we are here
to improve our own lot.
Yeah, improve our sort of own sort of lot, So in the sense, we are forced into this, situation. But at the same time, why we are here also has a kind of complicated history. See, one of the sort of, part of this narrative is that, European powers were in our places, in the kind of, in the first place, they have sort of, if you like, traced the kind of route, and we followed the same route to sort of, come here. So this is kind of one, part of the story, why we are here rather than kind of, elsewhere, because although now we are in different, places on earth,
True.
but in the first instance, our sort of goal were to arrive at the kind of imperial metropolis, the imperial centers, like Paris or London.
Maybe the knowledge of language and culture also helped to come back to England rather than go somewhere else, because if you went to Germany...
Yeah, exactly, the language is probably, but now I'm astonished, when I go around Europe, and the Bangladeshis are in Rome,
Spain.
Is speaking sort of Italian,
Yeah.
or in Spain, speaking Spanish. So in a sense that people are adaptable once they kind of find themselves in those situations, because they're extremely resourceful. So in a sense that kind of the imperatives to survive, you can acquire all these skills.
Is it this people leaving their own country and going somewhere else to live and make a better life, and also to help their own country back home so that they can send? And in this case, I would like to mention that Bangladesh earns $14 billion every year.
Yeah.
It is through the migrant workers. It is also through the people who are living in other countries, as like Bangladeshi British, Bangladeshi American, Bangladeshi Italian, or Bangladeshi Spanish. They all contribute to this.
But at the same time, I want to emphasize that it's never a kind of one-way traffic.
Right.
In a sense that the migrants have contributed enormously. In the
to the host
up,
country as well. Yes.
Building up this host country, and still they are kind of servicing, servicing a sort of sector that many citizens of the host communities refuse to still do.
True. This is so common in many countries. Like we have about 2 million Bangladeshi workers in Saudi Arabia, and there are so many kinds of jobs that the normal Saudi persons don't want to do, and that is where we come in, and we would love to do that. And because in the process of doing that, we are helping ourselves and helping them and helping our own country.
Exactly. But at the same time, I want to sort of also say that as the time goes on, so the children of the next generation, they are going into the English education system, and then they are going on to kind of do so-called professionals on a job, So they are doing very.
They become they are more likely to become part of the society, host society, and if you not be considered host society, it will be like my
So in a sense
society.
that they are claiming the same rights and privileges as any other British citizen.
True. Which is logically right. I mean, sounds correct. Do you think is it this tendency of people leaving their country and going away and working in another country just for the charm of it, or for economic reasons or political reasons, whatever? Is it because the world has become small, or to quote that malign word, digital? It has become digital, so everything is very close. So it doesn't matter where my family members live in Hong Kong, or whether I live in Alaska, or whether I live in Sweden, it doesn't matter now.
No, at the heart of it is kind of the dynamics of the new capitalism, because new capitalism is not confined to kind of national boundaries. So in a sense that is spreading across the sort of globe, wherever they can maximize profit. If they can maximize profit by using Bangladeshi workers, then they will go to Bangladesh. So now they are kind of spreading out, but at the same time, capital has gone out, spread across the globe. But following the similar sort of road, people also coming, sort of constantly sort of moving where there are jobs, opportunities.
Dr. Manzurul, how do you see yourself against the background of this Bangladeshi diaspora?
Well, I mean, I'm part of that.
We are coming to the end of the program, so you'll have to wrap it up.
This, Bangladeshi, diaspora, as I say, being part of the sort of Bangladeshi, because I'm split, between England and my kind of homeland of memories of in Bangladesh. So everything I sort of think and do is always structured by this double consciousness.
Great. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
I'm
Thank
so obliged to you for taking all the time and
Yeah.
traveling on this very cold evening.
Yeah. Thank you
Great
very
to have
much
you.
for having me.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.